Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into your sources on WMCD in Columbus, Ohio. It's a low-power TV station with, well, a surprisingly complex story.
It really is. Our goal here is to sort of unpack its journey, see how these smaller stations survive, maybe even thrive in the big media world.
Exactly. So let's start at the beginning. Founded January 8th, 1986.
That's the official date, yeah. But it didn't actually start broadcasting until August 31st, 1987.
And right away it had to adapt, didn't it? Wasn't it rebroadcasting something else initially?
WWatt TV. But that didn't last long. By 1991, it made a pretty significant pivot.
To home shopping.
Yep. Affiliated with the home shopping network, HSN. It really shows, that immediate hunt for a viable business model.
That's interesting. And the identity itself, the call sign, that kept changing too.
Oh, absolutely. It went from W17AI, then WMNLP for low power, then WMCA for Class A.
And finally WMCD in 2009, right? Class A digital.
Exactly. Achieving that Class A digital status, which happened in December 2008, was actually a huge deal.
Why was that so critical?
Protection. It gave the station vital protection for its signal against interference from bigger full power stations. Really important for stability.
So it wasn't just keeping up with tech, it was about securing its place on the dial. And they navigated some big industry shifts too.
Definitely. The mandatory digital transition in 2009, everyone had to do that. But also the FCC's Spectrum repack in 2019, that was massive.
That's the one where they moved stations around to free up spectrum for mobile broadband.
That's the one. WDMCD had to physically move from Channel 17 to Channel 24. These weren't small hurdles. They were like existential challenges. Shows real adaptability.
And speaking of value, the valuation story here is, well, it's pretty dramatic.
It really is something. Okay, so in 2014, Minority Brands buys it for, what, $75,000?
$75,000. Then, just 5 years later, April 2019, Innovate Corp., or rather, their subsidiary HC2 Holdings, snaps it up.
For how much again?
$866,000.
Wow. Okay, that's more than a tenfold increase. That's not just inflation.
Not at all. What does that tell you?
Well, it signals a major strategic shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bigger players like HC2 started seeing real value in these low-power assets. Maybe for their spectrum, maybe for hyper-local reach, maybe for future tech like ATSC 3.0.
Or even things like datacasting opportunities. They're not just small local stations anymore.
Exactly. They became valuable pieces of infrastructure in a larger media puzzle, far more than just, local background noise.
And the programming journey reflects that kind of turbulence and change, too.
Absolutely. It wasn't just home shopping forever, HSN, America's store.
Mm-hmm.
They did that for long stretches. But there was that brief local arts experiment, Lifeline Columbus, in 2009.
Right. And then that period where it just went off the air.
Yeah, the silent period between 2011 and 2013, likely due to operational, maybe financial difficulties. A station just going quiet for a couple of years.
But it came back and diversified.
It did. Started carrying Spanish language networks. You had Telemundo, then Azteca America, Estrella TV.
And the ownership change directly impacted that, right? HC2 owned Azteca America.
Precisely. So when HC2 bought WDMCD, Azteca America replaced Telemundo. Makes sense.
And now, as of late 2024.
The main channel carries the Rock Entertainment Sports Network. Plus, it's got a bunch of digital subchannels running various diginets, infomercials, typical modern low-power setup.
So when you look back at this whole history,
Mm-hmm.
ownership changes, call sign changes, going silent, the tech mandates, the repack.
What really stands out is just resilience, tenacity.
Yeah, it kept adapting, finding a way through market pressures, technological shifts.
It really demonstrates what it takes to survive in that low-power TV world, which is often, let's be honest, pretty tough economically. It found its role.
A localized distributor for diverse digital content, but now nested within a bigger corporate strategy.
Exactly. It's a niche, but clearly a valuable one now.
So WMCD's story, it's really a fascinating case study in adaptation. It shows that even these small broadcast players can have surprising strategic importance, especially as the media landscape keeps changing so fast.
It really does. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah. What does this deep dive tell us, really? Maybe that the future of specialized targeted content isn't just about global streaming. Maybe these nimble, localized broadcast platforms still have a really crucial role to play, something to chew on.